15 years ago, Toshio Okada told university students that employment might be over. His prediction has become reality. The employment rate has fallen drastically to 61%. The corporate lifespan is 7 years. The era when Okada declared employment was over has finally arrived. This is from his lecture at Toshio University. Okada argued that three ends are happening simultaneously: a society where 40% of college grads can't find jobs, the collapse of the marriage system, and a plunge in the value of money. Life counseling for a 20-something man considering living on welfare instead of working. Okada bluntly says if you're going to abuse the system, don't ask people for advice. But he also states that the choice isn't necessarily wrong. And the original Aladdin was a NET dependent on his mother. But he had a special talent. What does it mean to be a valuable person without working? Let's hear Toshio Okada's analysis.
Let's get started. We might not get a job. We might not work our whole lives. That's what I'm talking about today. I'll talk for 2 hours, then about an hour for Q&A. That's the plan, but over there, we can use 6 cameras. Since the tape is an 80-minute tape, I have to replace it before 80 minutes. So instead of about an hour, around 5 or 6 o'clock, I'll switch to a miscellaneous segment. When I switch to the miscellaneous segment, I'll read these post-its. So if your post-it gets picked, any time is fine. Even while I'm talking, please keep posting them. I'll use them as material or respond to them. The reason I'm using post-its is if it's a lecture, and I ask if there are any questions later. No one ever raises their hand. Japanese people not raising their hands is a problem. Even if I say ask more questions, it won't work. It's not that everyone doesn't have questions, right? It's more like they're wondering if it's okay to ask here. That's what I came up with. So when I try to leave, people from the apartment in front gather around and suddenly start asking questions. So everyone might have something they want to ask, but if they ask questions in a loud voice and get a microphone pointed at them, it might be a little awkward. Japanese people shouldn't do this. We turn it into a matter of character, and we shouldn't change the system. The Rice Import Committee is the same, right? When we have a problem, we think about whether Japan should change like this, whether the government should change like this, or whether the administration should change, or that Japanese people shouldn't do this, or that students shouldn't do this. And we should raise our hands if we have questions. We turn it into slogans and catchphrases. But instead, it's just a little trick. I think we can manage with a little trick, so I'll hand out post-its. Everyone, these post-its, if you write something without asking a question, you'll have leftover sticky paper, which is a waste. It's a waste, so it's like Okada-san is so cool paper. It's totally fine to stick them anywhere. Do you like them, you ask? I got them, so I have to use them all up. Just use them however you like. We might not get employed. Well, we will get employed, but the reason I'm talking about this is about 5 years ago, I wrote a book called Patisserie. It's about the benefits of being a petit creator, but I recommended it to the person in charge of the stock market, and it was featured on a program. I talked about it there too. At that time, the story of Osaka University of Arts. Osaka University of Arts was brought up as an example. I'm still teaching there now, but I'm at Osaka University of Arts, and like that, a classroom of about 200 people becomes full. A classroom of about 200 people becomes full, and I do this every year, but practical exercises for becoming a creator, or ways of thinking. I lecture on that. I also do practical training. And then, if I'm lucky, about 3 out of 200 people, you'll become a pro, right? 3 out of 200. This is pretty much if you're lucky in the anime world. So, any vocational school, even if you go to a vocational school for anime, games, or manga. If it's 3 out of 200, people will say, Okada-san, you're being optimistic. They'll say, that's excellent. That's the reality. So, what about the remaining 197 out of 200? What happens to them? They can't become pros. So, those who couldn't become pros, who wasted 4 years, and made their parents pay 1.4 million yen for 4 years of tuition, and realize they're no good. That kind of despair, it's an exaggeration, but you have to graduate with a light heart. It's not a system where only 3 out of 200 succeed. It's not set up that way. It's not a mechanism. What kind of world has a professor's office where, if you go, only 3 people get to wear makeup? There's no such thing, which means you're becoming a university student. That's right, but becoming a professional freeter, the system or mechanism itself, becomes strange. There's no such system, but you should realize. You should question the system, question the system. That's the first point. Second point. In about 8 years. Professional, that is the wife's theory. And it's a story about love, marriage, and raising children. It's a book I wrote. That's right. In that, the system of love and marriage is breaking down, I wrote. The system of love and marriage is breaking down. When I say this, yesterday, I was looking for a name to a 1-year-old girl. When I talked about new business leadership, this girl is going to get along with her current boyfriend and stay friends forever and get married. And I won't do business, I'll just live. That's what. The hurdle for marriage is now so high because you shouldn't marry for love. That's what people are convinced of. That's what I think. But with that way of thinking, girls who are now crazy about their first love will rebel. But in reality, now, the lifetime single rate is. So, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means it's an era where normal people don't marry. Until now, the lifetime single rate was 15% or 20%. Even then, there were a lot of people who didn't marry recently. It's normal not to marry. I was told it's normal. Why is this the lifetime single rate? It's good if you never marry. But from now on, the lifetime single rate will exceed 40%, which means the rate of something exceeding 25% is the same as getting married. The social system is, I want to do a certain system, but if the number of people who can't exceeds 30%, it'll be a rapid release, or so I'm thinking. Lifetime single rate. It's not that they don't want to get married, but that kind of person, I don't think there are 40% of them. I don't think so. It's not that. It's that if they had the chance, they'd want to get married, but they can't. Marriage or being driven to marriage. But even if you get married once, you're included in the lifetime single rate. Even if you get divorced, you're included among the successful people. If that's the case, 40% of people have a lifetime single rate. They can't get married even once. That's because society, this society, the system of marriage, is broken. I think that's the proof. Well then, employment rate. News from August 4th. Sankey News. University graduates. 107,000 people looking for jobs. Employment rate of 61.6%. Ministry of Education survey. That's what it says. So, after graduating college, the number of people who get jobs is only 61%, right? What this means is, of course, it includes people who go to grad school. But even if you go to grad school, so what does that mean? It means that in our society, if you want to get a job, you go to college for that reason, because you want to improve your chances of living a good life. But even if you seriously want a job, and everyone's evaluating people for jobs, and you're seriously trying to get a job, about 40% of people can't get a job in this society, which means it's not about individual effort. Probably the parents of people who are job hunting now, or the older generation, or older siblings, are from an era where you could get by if you tried. So I think it's hard for them to understand. People who are job hunting now. What can I say? People they respect. You can ask your parents, or your teachers, or your seniors, and they'll all say, just do your best. That's all they'll tell you. But the thing is, they've never experienced a world where 40% of people can't get jobs. Or rather, in today's Japan, no one has ever experienced anything like that. We're entering that kind of society. That's what I mean. Like I said, what is it? I wonder. Can't do it. When the number of people who want to but can't exceeds 30%, I think this society will collapse in terms of employment. We're living in that kind of society. So, that's what I want to talk about today. 3 points. 1. Employment is over. The main topic is the end. But, is it two-channel slang? I don't know, but it's already over. That content is. In other words, that's not going to work anymore. That's what I'm thinking about. At each university, the very idea of employment is already over, the main story. Second point. Why did it come to this? One more level. A higher cause. That is, the idea of money is over, the main story. Slowly. Over posture. This over posture doesn't mean that money is no longer valid. Or that you don't have any money. Up until now, if you just had that, money was super useful. Getting worse. If I can say it. Dom crashed so, or Dom, I mean, as much as I appreciate it. The usability is getting worse. No matter how much I use it, I can't use it at all. Which one is it? Furthermore, in that sense, but money is. Number 3. So, the prescription for that. Prescription. This kind of. From now on, I want to talk about that. There's not much left, which means, interestingly, the way of life of a hero is a story in RBO. I'm going to talk about today's goal. That's right. In about an hour and a half, I should be doing it. I think. So, let's talk about this box. Let's talk along these lines. Employment is over and business is over from that perspective. So, after getting a job, everyone enters a company. That's the weekend thing, right? If you join a company, you're relieved or something, right? Good evening. It's the Toshio Okada seminar on August 1st. It's already August. Today it's Psychopath Life Counseling. And I'm basically wearing the same outfit as Joker-san here. Just not wearing the red jacket. Well, what is this Psychopath Life Counseling? It's about not really considering people's feelings. And there are pros and cons to getting life advice from a psychopath who doesn't really empathize. Well, the advantage is that there's no point in lying. So I'll answer honestly. Whatever I think. I won't sugarcoat anything. That's one advantage, but the disadvantage is that you might hear things you don't really want to hear. Well, there's a high chance of hearing unpleasant things, so I'm going to be pretty harsh, so everyone writing comments. Please don't ask for advice on really tough things and then get upset when I say tough things. Otherwise, in the end, I'll just stop reading the comments because they're too harsh. If everyone turns off comment display, well, in the end, that's what happens. And if nobody benefits, the consultations themselves decrease. And if more people turn off comment display, the people writing comments lose out. So, please be a little nicer. Also, for the letters that were accepted today, or rather, the letters accepted in August. This is the August sticker. The one I thought of making with the 63-year-old. And the 3-year-old. It's the Talkuan sticker, making a rare appearance. Well, it's the one that feels like it resembles something. And the nice, plump cheeks have been reproduced well. I'll give this to you. Thanks for your support. Also, I was thinking about what I mentioned at the beginning, August 2nd, which is tomorrow. From tomorrow night, or to be exact, late at night. It's past midnight, so I should say it starts then. Well, from Monday late night, the official rebroadcast of Gainax will start on NHK General. They're doing 2 episodes a day, and apparently they'll do the whole thing in about a week. You should definitely watch it. Everyone, please set your recording timers now. Gainax on NHK is worth watching. I mean, I watched it once, bought the DVD box, and when the Blu-ray came out, I bought it again on Blu-ray. Well, it's not like I want to watch it 2 or 3 times, so I think it's definitely better to watch it or record it. When it's being broadcast on TV, and well, it's because things like that exist, that I think NHK has a reason to exist. It's worth watching, so that's the story about why you should set your recording timers. So, shall we start from the beginning today? Okay, here's the first best life advice. You know, my throat. Actually, it's been like this since Thursday or so. Somehow, it hasn't been in good condition, so I'll try not to raise my voice too much. Okay, this is from Mr./Ms. Clinging On, a man in his 20s. I hate non-regular work so much. I've been a full-time employee before, but I wasn't very capable, so I couldn't make it work. In a social situation where there's hardly any full-time employment, I can't leave my parents' house, and I'm thinking of making a comeback as a shit-talking lecturer. But no matter what I do, I can't overcome my incompetence or the social situation, so I'm not doing well. Well, I understand what you're saying. It feels like you're using a lot of idioms. Therefore, should I use welfare benefits, leave my parents' house, and work as a self-employed programmer, doing small-time activities, or if that's no good, cling to welfare, and suck the marrow out of Japanese society as an unemployed member of society? Abbreviation, I wrote myself. I don't have a college degree or any achievements that I can bounce back from. Even if I'm hired as an employee, they'll see that I'm incompetent and put me by the window. So it's a waste to hire me. In today's society, with the meaning of disclosing the reaction, I had the option of building a life where I don't work while abusing the system. It ends with I had this option. And there's no question written, but I'll summarize it myself. First, this person didn't graduate from college, but has been a full-time employee before. He's written a lot, but I'm going to summarize it. He doesn't have a college degree, but he has been a full-time employee before. Currently, he lives with his parents and is unemployed. His hope from here is to use welfare benefits, and if possible, become independent. Well, that's about it. To be honest, I don't like people like this. But I don't think it matters how I feel about them. I just don't like them. If you want me to affirm this way of thinking, you should consult the public. If you talk to them, they'll probably tell you to use welfare benefits. They're probably more sympathetic to that way of thinking, but I'm strict. I honestly think, what are you living for? He's writing himself that he's going to abuse the system, so you're aware of that. So you're aware that you're living off the money we earn and pay in taxes. So you shouldn't be asking people about it. You wrote that you're abusing the system. So you shouldn't ask people about it. You should just keep it to yourself. So, I'll send you a sticker, so shut up. Thinking that way isn't necessarily bad, and probably not wrong. I don't like it, so I'm being harsh, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong, but you won't get much praise for it, so shut your mouth. And keep it to yourself. That's what I think. Let's move on to Aladdin. Aladdin that Disney hid, the behind-the-scenes story. It's set in China. Aladdin is a NET living off his mother. This is Disney's Aladdin. North American box office revenue is $264 million domestically. Worldwide box office revenue is $727 million. A huge success. The 1992 animated Aladdin made $200 million in the US and $500 million worldwide. So it's a bigger hit than that. It's a successful remake. In the US, it's already third in its 4th week. But in Japan, it's still holding the top spot in its 2nd week. This week's Toshio Okada seminar is a special on Aladdin. But don't worry, there aren't many spoilers. What kind of story is Aladdin in the first place? As I said in the title, it's set in China. This is Aladdin finding the magic lamp in the mysterious cave. This is Aladdin from a picture book drawn by the British painter Walter Crane at the end of the 19th century. And this is Aladdin. He's completely Chinese. So, is this an arrangement? In the original Arabian Nights story, Aladdin in 1001 Nights also says it's in China. We have Arabian Nights over here, but Aladdin isn't in the previous version of Arabian Nights. It's in this so-called flock version of Arabian Nights. So, if you've seen Aladdin, you can't just buy the previous version. You have to read this one, and it's written as China here too. The beginning is, "O great king, long ago, there was a poor tailor in China. He had a son named Aladdin. The tailor tried hard to teach Aladdin his trade, but he just played around and didn't work. Eventually, the tailor died of worry because Aladdin wouldn't work and just hung around with delinquents in the city. The tailor's wife, Aladdin's mother, spun thread and fed Aladdin, but Aladdin didn't work at all. He was the most unfilial son. He turned 15 like that. It starts with an outrageous opening. Aladdin is a NET and a good-for-nothing, a scumbag who makes his mother work even after his father dies. But Aladdin had a secret he didn't even know about. And what was that? Actually, Aladdin's ancestor had hidden a huge treasure in a cave. Only his descendants can open the marble lid at the entrance. This kind of coincidence happens, and they barely write about the ancestor, because it wasn't important to the story. Actually, his ancestor hid a huge treasure, and they just write it casually. And the marble lid can't be opened. Then, a black magician comes from far beyond the setting sun in Africa. The magician had been after this treasure for over 30 years, and finally, he finds that NET Aladdin in China, at the edge where the fire rises, probably around Shanghai at the eastern edge, and calls out to Aladdin. Yeah, this is it. You really can't tell what country this is supposed to be anymore. There's a beauty with war, but well, China or Japan, it's all mixed up, you can't tell anymore. In late 19th century Europe, when this picture book was written, there was Japonism. So the illustrator, Crane, was right in the middle of so-called Japonism. Reading the original text, Miyako, far beyond China, they might have thought, isn't that Japan? Isn't Japan full of gold, silver, and treasure? So, instead of China, it became even more of a Japanese-style picture. In Japan, Aladdin is born as a story in the Arabian desert, but in Europe, it was common knowledge that it was set in China. In the late 19th century, Aladdin was probably thought of as a story from China or Japan. Why did this happen? I don't know if I should say Japan, but at least, why did we come to think of even the Disney animation as a story from a desert country, when it's actually a story from quite east of China? I'll talk about that from here. It's surprisingly interesting. Thanks in advance. Well then, thanks.